Archer versus Longbow. That's what we're going to explore in this Battletech Tactica vlog. Now, if you've been following my channel or checking out some of the tactics under my Battletech playlist, you know that I love missile boats. You know that real time on the hex map, I like to rain down hundreds and hundreds of long-range missiles. I've got some warriors, I've got some Karnovs, I've got some infantry with indirect fire acting as spotters. There is nowhere to hide. But when you're so enthusiastic about certain builds, it's easy to overlook certain deficiencies or certain tactica spots where things go a little bit different. I illustrated this idea when we also explored Warhammer versus Marauder. They start out the same, but then they move into two different areas. And when you get caught by surprise, that's when you get wiped off the tabletop. So as a mech commander, issuing those warriors commands to the mech warriors, let's jump in Longbow versus Archer. Now, essentially, we've got two dedicated missile boats. There's this idea in Battletech of redundancy. I've got to be able to hit you. I've got to be able to cause damage. We take into account three factors. We're going to sidebar a little bit for the new enthusiasts to the game of armored combat. First, we got to measure range. Am I in range? And based on that range, short, medium, long, different modifiers. Then we've got the movement of the target. How many hexes? That's going to have a modifier. Then we've got our movement modifiers. Running, jumping, walking, not moving. And then, of course, that starting area is based on the skill of our mech pilot. If you have more than one shot, that increases the chance of hitting. Yes, I want to get those modifiers as low as possible. But regardless of what they are, 1 is none, 2 is some, 3 is 1. So what we see with both the Longbow and the Archer, those 20 packs, you have 2 of them. You have 2 LRM 20s. What that means is if you hit, it increases the chance of hitting, but also when we roll for the spread, it's going to be a decent amount of damage. There is a big difference between LRM 5s and 10s and 15s and 20s. Dedicated missile boats need redundancy, need those 20 packs just to start. Of course, being long-ranged, what happens when things close? And it could be part of a lance, or it could be kind of hanging back and raining down fire, and then other opposing units, mechs or vehicles approaching. Then we've got some medium lasers to deal with that, with the Archer. So we've got 2 LRM 20s, and we've got some medium lasers. Medium lasers kind of the workhorse of the inner sphere, the best weapon in the game, right? I'm always looking at damage. I love big guns. But I say the best weapon in the game based on range, heat, damage, no ammo. You don't know what to do? Fire a medium laser. You're looking at a mech? Fire a medium laser. So that's the role of the Archer. We're going to pelt you with those LRM 20s, and then we're going to utilize those medium lasers to kind of drive off or add some firepower if we're part of a lance. So now we look at the Longbow, and you say, well, look, what if we add a little bit more? It starts to deviate in that it has 2 medium lasers rather than the 4, and it also adds 2 5-packs split. So now we've got redundancy of 2 20-packs for the Longbow, 2 5-packs, and then 2 medium lasers. You could argue and say 2 medium lasers with heat sinks and stuff, that's all you're ever going to really fire. Okay. The difference between the LRM 5s and the 20s, just the 20s of the Archer, is significant. It's more shots. It has the ability to torrent down armor quicker. Also, if you're going to do primary shot and secondary shot, that's a possibility too. Sometimes what will happen is I want to send those 20 packs on a primary target. I want to send those 20 packs on a mech. But I've also got like a warrior or a quick little moving hover vehicle, something that doesn't really want to warrant a 20 yet. Fire off on the 5s or fire everything for that full effect. Indirect fire, more missiles, better. But I have to say, and I love the Longbow, this is now where things start to deviate. And in many ways, agree or disagree, I'll turn it over to my fellow mech warriors, mech commanders, mech techs in the comments. The Archer is a better machine. the Archer is a better machine. And I regularly field Archers, and I regularly field Longbows. The Archer is a better machine. Here's why. First of all, the Longbow does have more weapons. Essentially, you're adding those 5 packs, but it's coming at an increased battle value, 1,600 versus the Archer, which I think is 1,450. Let's say 1,500. That Longbow is a little bit more, just by a little bit, but battle value adds up. You know, when you make that jump from heavies, heaviers to lower assaults, it's only a difference of 100, 150, 200 battle value. Over the course of a couple of lances, that adds up to something significant. So it's a little bit more in price. Now, I could justify that and say, well, look, more in price, 2 5-packs, and it's an assault mech. Yes, but the Longbow, with those 2 5s and the weight of them, and all of that ammunition, all of those LRM packs, a lot of ammo, very heavy. For an assault mech, it really doesn't have enough armor. It doesn't. It looks like it on paper, but it's going to go down very, very fast, especially since it doesn't have significant return fire as an assault mech, which means if something is able to close and get to medium or short range with my with my Longbow, I'm in a lot of trouble because I can zappy things with my medium lasers. I will fire under the minimums with those LRM packs. But if I've got something like a Victor coming at me that's fast-moving, autocannon 20s, if I've got even a Warhammer, or I've got a similar assault mech that has significant armor but also firing PPC autocannon, abrasive medium lasers, and SRM 6-pack, I'm going to melt very, very fast. And it's going to go to internals, and I got ammo everywhere. So now this is where things start to change. The Longbow is best suited as a support lance, meaning it's with some mechs that hang out in the back and plink away. Very, very effective. If I've got 2 Longbows, 2 Jaeger mechs, or if I'm trying to save and shave battle value, 2 Longbows and 2 Blackjacks. I like the Blackjack. We got to revisit the Blackjack. I think that's a real sleeper mech that mech warriors, mech commanders see like autocannon 2s, and they're like, not enough dice, volume of dice. But the Blackjack is a pretty good mech, both at long range, medium, and short. And it's got a couple of surprises to it. I'm going to make a note. We're going to jump back into the Blackjack. But if I'm trying to save battle value, 2 Blackjacks, 2 Longbows, and just fire away, fire away, fire away. That's a lot of firepower. That's a lot of stuff coming at you. What that means is your opponent, they're like, look, Fritz, I got to counter it. I got to go after that in some way. So now I've got the battle value of my Longbows, and understanding that when something closes, I can't drive it off. I can't fight it off. I'm going to need something else. Now, what is that something else? Depends on the battle value. Usually what I run is 1 to 2 Demolisher tanks. That's 2 autocannon 20s on a turret, some great armor. You got to pass through that buffer zone. That's pretty significant. Or I throw a T-bolt back there if I've got higher battle value, just to kind of bodyguard and figure things out. But that's more battle value on top of it. So that's not to say, again, the Longbow isn't effective, but it doesn't have that close-in staying power. It's not designed for it. Now we look at the Archer. The Archer doesn't have the 2 5-packs, but it's got good armor. It can get up there and brawl things a little bit. Yes, I want to hang back. It could be part of a support lance, but I could also have the Archer as part of a regular lance that slowly, as we're on the way in, firing those LRM 20s. If I've got a Warhammer or Marauder firing PPCs, can lay down some really, really good long-range firepower with that lance. And then when things close, the Archer can kind of hang back a little bit to medium or short range and fire away with those 20s. But if it has to get up there, it's got the armor, it's got the medium lasers, it has the hands. Punching, that's going to be pretty significant. The ability to punch and work at that close range. So if it gets caught at close range, or the tactics don't quite work out as intended, and I've got to really close now and add that weight, it has a lot more staying power than the Longbow. So they start out the same, but there is a difference between the two. Which is better? Again, in my opinion, if I'm looking at everything, you do gain a lot more with that 20-pack, but the Archer has a lot more staying power. The final piece is Endgame. Now, in Endgame, if you're able to keep that Longbow up, it starts to excel. Endgame is where we're both beat up. We got a lot of mechs smoking. We've got arms blasted off. We're going to internals. We don't really want to get hit by anything because now it's going to be critical hits and it could cause a problem. One of the great things about a spread of LRMs and SRMs, both at long and short range, is the ability to, on a single shot, possibly hit a crit. So Endgame, yes, it's always still about damage, but it's also about, can I just get anything in? An autocannon 2, a machine gun, a missile, a small laser, anything into that one slot that's gone to internals to blow you up, core you out, cause a crit, damage transfer, arm drop off, leg blow off, something, anything. Can I complete the last 2 bubbles of your puzzle? So at that point, this is where firing 4, 20-pack, 5 and 5 on the Longbow, it's a vicious crit seeker. But that's Endgame. Assumes you're still up, assumes you still have ammo, and assumes we're still fighting. So my vote, again, for the Archer, but the Longbow, if you can keep it to its pattern, if you can keep it to what it's doing, it's a great, great machine. If you can't do that because just the dictates of the battle, or you want a little bit of flexibility if you have to, the Archer is the way to go.